Cultivating a positive mental attitude is one of Napoleon Hill's most important teachings and arguably the most foundational when it comes to building a healthy mindset. A positive mental attitude, often abbreviated as PMA, is more than simply thinking happy thoughts or forcing optimism. For Hill, PMA is the deliberate choice to orient one's mind toward constructive, empowering, and opportunity seeking thoughts rather than destructive, fearful, and negative ones. He described it as the mental lens through which a person views life, and he argued that it directly determines whether one achieves success or sinks into failure. A healthy mindset, in Hill's view, cannot exist without PMA because attitude influences everything from decisions and actions to the way one interprets events. The essence of PMA lies in perception. Two individuals can face the exact same situation, yet respond in radically different ways depending on their mental attitude. One may see a setback as a sign of defeat, while the other interprets it as temporary feedback and a stepping stone to improvement. The difference is not in external circumstances, but in the way the mind processes them. A person with PMA interprets adversity as an opportunity to learn, grow, and adapt. They focus not on what went wrong, but on how it can be fixed or turned to their advantage. By contrast, a person with a negative mental attitude NMA sees obstacles as final and insurmountable, which paralyzes action and leads to inaction or resignation. Hill observed this difference repeatedly while studying successful people. Leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators often faced more obstacles than their peers, but they maintained a mental habit of finding possibility within the problem. This mindset allowed them to persist where others gave up. For example, Thomas Edison endured thousands of failed experiments before inventing the electric light bulb, yet he famously reframed failure by saying he had simply discovered thousands of ways that did not work. This is a textbook example of PMA, turning what others would perceive as failure into valuable data that brings one closer to success. Edison's genius was not just in his technical skill, but in his mental attitude that refused to accept defeat as final. Cultivating PMA requires conscious effort because the human mind tends to gravitate toward fear, doubt, and negativity, especially when confronted with challenges. Hill argued that just as a garden must be cultivated to prevent weeds from taking over, the mind must be intentionally directed to prevent negative thoughts from dominating. This involves monitoring self-talk, the internal dialogue that runs throughout the day. Negative self-talk reinforces limiting beliefs, while positive self-talk strengthens confidence and resilience. For example, replacing the thought, "I can't do this," with, "I will find a way to do this," shifts the mind from helplessness to empowerment. Over time, these small shifts compound, creating a mental habit of positivity that becomes automatic. A positive mental attitude also has a profound impact on relationships and influence. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate optimism, enthusiasm, and confidence. A leader with PMA inspires trust and loyalty, whereas one consumed by negativity breeds doubt and disengagement. Hill often pointed out that success is rarely a solo journey. It requires cooperation, collaboration, and the goodwill of others. PMA acts like a magnet, attracting opportunities, partnerships, and support. This is not mystical but practical psychology. People prefer to work with those who uplift them rather than those who drain their energy. A positive attitude creates an environment where cooperation flourishes, and this cooperative energy accelerates success. Another dimension of PMA is its effect on health and energy. Hill linked a positive attitude to vitality and longevity. Modern psychology and medicine now confirm what Hill intuited. Mental states influence physical well-being. Chronic negativity, stress, and pessimism weaken the immune system and lead to fatigue, while positivity boosts resilience, energy, and even recovery from illness. A healthy mindset supported by PMA contributes not just to success, but to overall quality of life. Those who maintain PMA are more likely to adopt healthier habits, take care of themselves, and sustain the energy required for long-term achievement. Hill also warned against the dangers of drifting, a state of mind characterized by passivity, indecision, and negativity. Drifters lack direction and are easily influenced by outside circumstances, often adopting the pessimism and defeatism of those around them. A person with PMA, by contrast, takes deliberate control of their mental environment. They choose what influences they allow in, what they read, listen to, and who they associate with. Surrounding oneself with positive influences reinforces PMA, while exposure to constant negativity erodes it. Hill suggested that maintaining a mental diet of uplifting material, constructive people, and inspiring thoughts is as important for the mind as nutritious food is for the body. Faith and PMA are closely linked in Hill's philosophy. Faith, or belief, in one's ability to achieve a goal cannot thrive in a negative mental climate. It requires the soil of optimism and positivity to grow strong. When one maintains PMA, setbacks are interpreted as temporary, and faith is preserved. Without positivity, faith quickly withers under the weight of fear and doubt. This is why Hill often described PMA as the foundation of all other success principles. Without it, definiteness of purpose, organized planning, or specialized knowledge cannot be applied effectively, because the individual lacks the confidence and determination to use them. Cultivating PMA is not about ignoring reality or pretending that problems do not exist. It is about choosing to respond to reality in a way that promotes solutions rather than defeat. A person with PMA acknowledges challenges but refuses to dwell on them in a destructive way. Instead, they focus on possibilities, resources, and actions that move them forward. This proactive orientation to life is what creates resilience and resourcefulness. Even when external circumstances are unfavorable, the individual with PMA maintains internal control by deciding how they will think and respond. Practical methods for developing PMA include daily affirmations, visualization, gratitude practices, and reframing challenges. Affirmations involve repeating empowering statements that reinforce confidence and optimism. Visualization creates a mental picture of success that inspires belief and motivation. Gratitude shifts focus away from what is lacking to what is already good, which generates positivity and attracts more good. Reframing challenges involves consciously looking for the lesson or opportunity in difficulties rather than focusing solely on the problem. These practices, when done consistently, recondition the subconscious mind to favor positivity, making PMA a natural default rather than a forced effort. Ultimately, cultivating a positive mental attitude means making a daily, conscious decision to direct the mind toward constructive thought. It is not a one-time achievement, but an ongoing discipline, much like physical fitness. Just as muscles must be exercised to stay strong, attitude must be trained to remain positive in the face of life's ups and downs. For Hill, this discipline is non-negotiable because attitude determines destiny. The person who consistently chooses PMA develops a healthy mindset that becomes the foundation for success, resilience, health, and happiness. Maintaining sound health consciousness is an essential principle that Napoleon Hill emphasized when discussing the building of a healthy mindset. He believed that the mind and body are interconnected in such a way that mental clarity, resilience, and the capacity to succeed are strongly influenced by physical well-being. A weak, unhealthy body makes it more difficult to maintain a positive outlook or to endure the pressures of life, while a strong, energetic, and healthy body supports the persistence, vitality, and discipline necessary for achievement. For Hill, success was not just a matter of having goals and plans. It also required a mind that was supported by the strength of a well-cared-for body. This connection between body and mind remains a cornerstone of both personal development and modern psychology, highlighting the timelessness of Hill's philosophy. Sound health consciousness begins with awareness. It is the recognition that choices about diet, exercise, rest, and overall lifestyle directly affect one's ability to think clearly and remain emotionally balanced. People who disregard their health often find themselves unable to perform at their best, not because they lack ambition or intelligence, but because their physical condition undermines their mental strength. A body constantly drained by fatigue, poor nutrition, or neglect inevitably leads to irritability, low focus, and diminished creativity. Conversely, someone who is disciplined about maintaining their health experiences greater energy, sharper focus, and an overall sense of optimism that spills into every area of life. Hill was ahead of his time in linking health to success. Today, science confirms what he taught. Nutrition influences brain chemistry, exercise elevates mood and cognitive performance, and rest repairs both body and mind. For example, proper sleep is known to enhance memory, decision making, and emotional regulation, while lack of sleep makes individuals more prone to negativity, poor judgment, and decreased productivity. Similarly, a diet rich in whole foods, fruits, and vegetables provides the nutrients necessary for brain function and emotional stability, while processed and unhealthy foods can cause lethargy and mood swings. Hill understood that no matter how ambitious or intelligent a person may be, their capacity to stay positive and focused is compromised if their physical foundation is weak. Another dimension of health consciousness is discipline. Success in life requires consistent habits, and health is no different. Hill often described success as the result of small, daily disciplines compounded over time. The same applies to maintaining health. Regular exercise, balanced eating, staying hydrated, and managing stress are all small but critical habits that accumulate into physical vitality. This discipline not only improves the body, but also strengthens the mind, because the act of committing to healthy routines builds willpower and self-control. Every time an individual chooses a healthier option over a destructive one, they reinforce their ability to direct their own life rather than being controlled by impulses. Hill also tied health to emotional resilience. A healthy body produces higher energy levels, which directly support a healthier emotional state. People with vitality are less likely to sink into despair or prolonged discouragement, because their physical strength gives them the stamina to push through challenges. Conversely, those who are constantly fatigued or unwell often find their mental attitude declining, leading to frustration and hopelessness. This is why health consciousness is not just about vanity or appearance. It is about equipping the mind with the energy and stability it needs to stay positive, resilient, and solution-focused. A key part of health consciousness, according to Hill, is moderation. He warned against overindulgence in food, drink, and habits that weaken the body and cloud the mind. Overeating, drinking excessively, or indulging in stimulants and unhealthy substances might provide short-term comfort, but always exact a long-term cost. Such indulgence dulls the clarity of thought, reduces physical stamina, and diminishes willpower. A person who loses control over their physical habits is more likely to lose control over their mental habits as well. On the other hand, moderation strengthens self-discipline, which in turn reinforces the mind's ability to stay positive and focused on higher goals. The relationship between health and mindset is also visible in the role of stress. Hill believed that stress, if unmanaged, could become one of the greatest threats to a person's success. Stress wears down both the body and the mind, creating cycles of worry, fear, and negativity. Health consciousness involves not only caring for the body through food and exercise, but also learning how to manage emotional pressures in a healthy way. Practices such as deep breathing, meditation, gratitude, or even simple walks outdoors can reduce stress and restore balance. Hill would argue that a person who neglects stress management is sabotaging their success just as much as someone who neglects diet or exercise. Another layer to health consciousness is the recognition of mental input as a form of nutrition for the mind. Just as the body requires wholesome food, the mind requires uplifting ideas and constructive thoughts. Exposing oneself to negative news, toxic conversations, or destructive environments can be as harmful to mental health as junk food is to physical health. By surrounding oneself with positive influences, inspiring material, and supportive people, one maintains a mental environment that encourages growth and optimism. Hill considered this to be part of overall health, because a poisoned mental environment inevitably leads to poor health of the body and the spirit. Health consciousness also extends to habits of rest and recovery. In the drive for success, many people sacrifice sleep, relaxation, and downtime, thinking that constant work will produce results. Hill cautioned against this imbalance. The human body and mind require cycles of rest to renew energy, consolidate learning, and sustain productivity. Ignoring this need leads to burnout, diminished creativity, and eventually collapse. A truly healthy mindset recognizes that rest is not laziness, but an essential investment in long-term achievement. Just as crops must lie fallow at times to produce greater harvests, the mind and body must recharge to remain effective. Perhaps the most empowering aspect of maintaining health consciousness is that it puts responsibility back in the hands of the individual. Hill believed strongly in personal responsibility and the power of choice. Health consciousness is not about waiting for external conditions to improve, but about taking control of daily habits and decisions. A person who exercises, eats well, manages stress, and cultivates positive influences is actively shaping their mental and physical destiny. This sense of agency strengthens confidence and reinforces the belief that success is within one's control. On the other hand, neglecting health often fosters a victim mentality, where individuals blame circumstances rather than acknowledging their own choices. Maintaining health consciousness is not about perfection, but about awareness and consistent effort. It requires paying attention to how the body feels, how the mind responds, and what habits contribute to strength versus weakness. By making conscious choices, even small ones, individuals build momentum toward better health and greater mental resilience. Over time, these choices become part of a lifestyle that supports success rather than undermines it. Napoleon Hill emphasized this principle because he understood that without health, no amount of ambition, knowledge, or planning could be fully realized. A sick or depleted individual cannot harness the full power of the mind. In this way, health consciousness is inseparable from the pursuit of success. It is the foundation upon which clarity of thought, persistence, and positivity are built. Those who care for their health are equipping themselves with the energy, discipline, and mental strength needed to face challenges and achieve their goals. For Hill, building a healthy mindset always started with maintaining sound health consciousness, because only when the body is strong and the mind is clear can an individual fully direct their life toward purpose and achievement.
They move with. Learning to detach from the chaos around you and maintain an inner sense of calm is one of the most powerful mental tools a person can develop. Life is unpredictable. Situations don't always go as planned. People can disappoint us, news can shake us, and daily events, both minor and major, can disrupt our peace if we let them. The third keynote, they move with, detach from things outside your control, is an invitation to train the mind to remain unshaken amidst life's uncertainty. They move with. This habit allows individuals to focus their energy inward and protect their mental state from unnecessary turbulence. Detachment doesn't mean indifference, nor does it mean giving up on outcomes or relationships. Instead, it is a practice of releasing the illusion of control over external circumstances. It means accepting that while we may influence things they move with, we cannot dictate how others act, how events unfold, or what challenges might appear. When people hold tightly to what they cannot control, they invite stress, frustration, and disappointment. They move with. But when they release that grip and shift their focus to what is within their power, their attitude, their decisions, their responses, they gain a deep sense of freedom and mental clarity. Napoleon Hill believed that mental discipline is the cornerstone of personal success. They move with. To train your mind to detach is to train it to let go of the drama, the noise, and the expectations that often lead to emotional chaos. They move with. It's about recognizing the boundary between yourself and the world. They move with, and making peace with the fact that the world doesn't owe you certainty or comfort. They move with. You begin to understand that what you think and how you feel does not have to be dictated by external events. This inner independence is what creates true power. Most stress is born from resistance to things we cannot change. Whether it's a past mistake, a failed relationship, or a sudden change in plans, the more we fight reality, the more pain we create for ourselves. They move with. Detachment is the practice of accepting things as they are, not as we wish them to be. That doesn't mean you don't care. They move with. It means you don't suffer needlessly by demanding that life bend to your will. They move with. When you stop expecting perfection from others or constant control over outcomes, your emotional volatility begins to fade. They move with, and peace starts to take root. To cultivate this mindset, it helps to reflect on where your energy is going each day. They move with. Are you spending time worrying about other people's opinions? Are you replaying old arguments in your mind? Move. Are you constantly anticipating worst-case scenarios? All of this mental energy is wasted on things that are not within your command. They move with. Detachment begins when you start redirecting that energy inward, toward building your character, strengthening your mind. Move with, and pursuing your goals with focus and integrity, regardless of what others are doing. In moments of crisis or uncertainty, detachment helps you step back and observe the situation rather than becoming consumed by it. It allows you to say, "This is happening, but it doesn't have to destroy my inner world." It gives you the ability to pause, assess, and respond rather than react emotionally. With practice, they move with. You start to see problems as temporary, setbacks as learning opportunities. They move with. And challenges as neutral events that don't define your worth or dictate your mood. They move with. One of the most practical ways to train this mindset is through journaling. Writing down your thoughts and separating them into what you can control and what you can't is a powerful way to gain clarity. Over time, they move with. You'll notice that the most empowering thoughts are those tied to your own behaviors, your mindset. They move with, and your values, not to the unpredictable behaviors of others or the randomness of life. They move with. Meditation is another tool that helps build the mental space needed for detachment. Sitting in silence, they move with. Observing your breath and thoughts without judgment teaches you to witness rather than engage every thought or emotion that arises. Another area where detachment proves vital is in relationships. Many people suffer because they try to control how others feel, behave, or respond. They move with. They feel responsible for other people's emotions or take personal offense when others don't meet their expectations. Detachment allows you to love and care for people without tying your peace to their actions. You learn to set boundaries, accept differences, and walk away when necessary without guilt or drama. You don't stop caring, you just stop controlling. In business or career settings, detachment allows for resilience. Goals are important, but becoming overly attached to a specific outcome can create anxiety and tunnel vision. They move with. When things don't go as expected, those who are overly attached spiral into discouragement. Those who practice detachment, however, they move with. Adjust their approach without losing motivation. They know success isn't about controlling every step of the process. It's about staying focused. They move with. Doing the work and trusting the process, even when the results take longer to appear. Training the mind to detach also improves your ability to handle criticism and rejection. When your sense of worth isn't tied to external approval, they move with. Negative feedback no longer destroys you. You begin to see feedback as data, not as an attack on your identity. You can take what's useful, move with, discard what's not, and move forward without getting emotionally entangled. This mindset makes you more confident, less defensive. They move with, and more open to growth. One of the greatest benefits of detachment is that it helps you preserve your energy. Life requires energy, mental, emotional, and physical, to connect and to evolve. When your energy is drained by overthinking, by worrying about things beyond your influence with, or by obsessing over what others think, you have less power available for the things that truly matter. Detachment is energy management. Move with. It's the act of saying, I will not spend my mental currency on things I can't change. That decision alone changes everything. This practice, move with, like any other, requires patience. You won't become emotionally detached overnight. They move with, especially if you've spent years responding habitually to every trigger. But with daily awareness and small consistent choices, detachment becomes natural. You begin to live in a way that is calm, clear, and focused. You become the eye of the storm rather than the storm itself. They move with. People around you will notice your stability, your groundedness, and your peace. And often, they'll want to learn from it. They move with. The world will always be full of noise, unpredictability, and challenge. But when you master the art of detachment, they move with, you realize that you don't have to be ruled by it. You are not your circumstances. You are not other people's opinions. They move with. You are not the chaos around you. You are the stillness within, and that stillness becomes your strength. Excuses are the stories we tell ourselves to justify an action, delay, or failure. They are the internal voices that whisper, "I'm too tired. I don't have time. It's not the right moment." Or, "I'm just not ready yet." These justifications seem harmless at first. They move with. But over time, they become deeply embedded mental habits that erode progress and prevent consistency. Eliminating excuses is not simply about becoming more productive. It's about reclaiming control over your life. They move with. It's recognizing that every time you offer an excuse, you're giving away your power. You're allowing circumstances, fear, they move with, or temporary emotions to rule over your commitment. And that's a pattern that must be broken if you ever want to achieve long-term success. They move with. Discipline is not an innate gift. It's built. It's trained. It's forget in moments when you don't feel like doing the work, but you do it anyway. They move with. The problem is that most people wait for motivation, and when it doesn't come, they rely on excuses to explain their lack of results. To move, but motivation is fleeting, it's emotional. Discipline is structural. It's what keeps you moving forward when the excitement fades and the process gets hard. True consistency. Showing up day after day, move with, whether you feel like it or not, requires a level of self-discipline that can only be built by eliminating the option to back out. Excuses often originate from fear of failure, fear of rejection of judgment, or even fear of success. And because fear is uncomfortable, they move with. We mask it with logic. We say we need more time to plan, that conditions aren't perfect, or that we're still preparing. But deep down, they move with. These are comfort-driven defenses that keep us from stepping into action. Eliminating excuses means facing that fear, not running from it. They move with. It means acknowledging the discomfort and choosing action anyway. Discipline is what allows you to push through fear. They move with. It gives you the structure to act despite hesitation. You stop asking yourself how you feel and start asking what needs to be done. With building discipline starts with keeping small promises to yourself. When you say you'll get up at 5 a.m. and you do it, you build trust with yourself. When you say you'll go to the gym and you actually go, you reinforce belief in your ability to follow through. These small wins compound. Over time, they form the foundation of a resilient mindset. Excuses dissolve in the face of repeated self-trust. The more disciplined you become, they move with, the less room there is for doubt, because your actions prove your intent. Consistency is no longer a struggle. It becomes your default mode of operation. Excuses also thrive in a lack of structure. They move with. When your days are unorganized, when your priorities are unclear, when your environment is full of distractions, it's easy to slip in justification mode. I didn't have time often means I didn't plan properly. I couldn't focus usually means I didn't create a space that supports focus. Building discipline requires intentional design. They move with. You create systems that guide your energy. You schedule tasks, eliminate distractions, and set boundaries. They move with. You make it harder to deviate from the plan and easier to follow through. Discipline is not just willpower. It's architecture to move with. You design your habits, environment, and routines to support consistency and minimize the influence of excuses. Another key to eliminating excuses is taking radical responsibility. This means owning everything in your life. Your success, your failure, your time, your choices. It's refusing to blame others, the economy, your past, or your circumstances. Responsibility strips excuses of their power. They move with. When you stop looking outward and start looking inward, you reclaim agency. You stop waiting for conditions to be perfect and begin creating the conditions through action. This mindset is powerful because it puts you in control. You are no longer a victim of your situation. You are the creator of your future. And creators don't have time for excuses. They focus on solutions. They focus on what can be done, even if it's only a small step forward. Discipline is also built through consistency in values. When you truly value growth, integrity, and purpose, your actions must align with those values. Excuses arise when there's a disconnect. When you say you want something but act in contradiction. That internal friction creates guilt, anxiety, move with, and self-doubt. But when your actions match your words, you create harmony. You walk your talk. They move with. That alignment strengthens discipline because you're no longer divided internally. Your mind, body, and spirit are moving in the same direction. They move with. You don't need to convince yourself to act. You simply do, because it's who you are. They move with. It's also important to understand that eliminating excuses doesn't mean being harsh or punishing yourself. It means being honest. They move with. There's a difference between being tired and being lazy. There's a difference between needing recovery and avoiding effort. They move with. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. When you can recognize your patterns without sugarcoating them, you gain clarity. They move with. You can address the root issue instead of covering it with another excuse. That self-awareness is a core ingredient of self-mastery. They move with. You no longer react blindly. You choose consciously. In moments of weakness, when excuses feel tempting, discipline is your anchor. It reminds you of your why. It reminds you of the standard you've committed to. They move with. It reminds you that you're building something bigger than temporary comfort. Every time you override an excuse with action, you get stronger. You build a library of evidence in your mind that you can be counted on. And over time, this becomes your identity, someone who follows through, someone who stays the course, someone who wins not because it's easy, but because they are consistent. You can't have both excuses and progress. One always cancels out the other. If you truly want to achieve greatness, if you want to be consistent, sharp, and unstoppable, they move with. You have to wage war on excuses. You have to catch them as they arise, question them, and replace them with disciplined action. They move with. You train your mind to stop negotiating with weakness. You stop looking for an out and start looking for a way forward. They move with. That mindset separates those who dream from those who do. And while discipline starts with you, it is strengthened through your routines. They move with your relationships and your environment. Every decision you make either reinforces your discipline or weakens it. Every excuse you allow grows stronger the next time it shows up. But the opposite is also true. Every time you silence an excuse and choose action, move with, you chip away at resistance. You build momentum. You shape a version of yourself who is built for the long game. They move with. That's the power of eliminating excuses and building discipline. You don't just change your results. You change who you are.